I was a people pleaser because I had no idea who I was or who I am. I was so scared of what was sitting inside and the world around me. And because I love myself, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to feel ugly inside. I want to see myself as the Creator intended me to be, as beautiful from the inside out. So, with my healing journey, it was brutal. The things that come out would bring me to my knees to tears. They would, like I said, self mutilate. I would harm myself because I didn't want to face myself. Consciously tell myself to slow down, Denielle, from how I speak to my thoughts, which is why I love to meditate. Meditation and prayer do this. Everything just slows down, right? And then when I look around me, I'm going, but we're all bumping our knees and tripping over our feet and twisting our ankles and walking into things and dropping things and spilling on ourselves. Like we should have a bib. We should be wearing bibs because we're just dropping and we are children. We're all big children running around. You don't want to bulldoze because you don't know what somebody else is going through. I would hope that we are not people to be the catalyst for breaking the camel's back. And it has to get to a point for self where you stop blaming your parents and the world around you. But you take accountability because you are here now as an adult. And when I say you, I mean myself. I am here now. I am an adult. It's my life. What is it that I choose to do with it? And I choose love and kindness.
Greetings, seekers of ancient wisdom. Today we're joined by Denielle, a happiness coach and life consultant. Today we're talking about embracing your inner child. Denielle, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Deepak. Lovely to be here.
Yeah, we are very excited about this topic, embracing your inner child. So, what does that even mean, embracing your inner child? What does that mean to you?
So I love this topic because I am a child, a grown child. And I do believe that every single one of us are big children running around, but we forget that or we lose it for whatever reasons. So yes, I'm excited to share more about my experience and understanding around the topic.
So, why would we want to embrace our inner child, right? I mean, children have no responsibility. I mean, I've got children, so I'm constantly running after my young daughter, picking up stuff for her, um, cleaning up this, cleaning that. I mean, she can't really function at the moment without me guiding and helping her. So why would we want to be that?
That's a great question. You know, I'm going to answer it by sharing my journey. Due to my journey of life, I have had a traumatic childhood and life for the most part. Physical abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse from about the age of 5 all the way up until my mid 30s. I think what it almost felt like was being robbed of a childhood. I took myself so seriously. I was so angry. I was constantly in motion and movement, substance abuse, many forms of self mutilation, because I grew up too quickly, or I had to grow up too quickly. And I'm grateful for all of my experiences, regardless of how painful they could be. And eventually, cue healing. And healing has always been a part of my journey. I've been very fortunate to have two wonderful, loving parents who put me into therapy at the age of 5, or from the age of 5, and it's always been a part of my life, even into my teenage years, my young adult years, and even now in my 30s. And it's extended from traditional psychologists to psychiatrists, medication, to shamans, to eventually a spiritual healer. And what happens with the journey of healing is once the vessel clears, it becomes light, and the inner child comes out very passionate. Because I think the analogy or the idea of the inner child is a subjective one, right? So you as a father will have a very different view based on your little girl that you're running after and having to take care of and you're responsible for because you are, versus myself who doesn't have children, but I spend a fair amount of time observing children. And I've got many family and friends who have children. And the reason I enjoy childlike essence is because it's free. It's a freeing emotion and way of being. It's carefree. It's my most favorite part about it, apart from play and creativity and being authentic to its truest form, is that kids are living in the present. They're just here. They're not thinking about what happened a second ago or yesterday. They're not thinking about what's coming or the future or how is this going to happen. They're just being here. So the power of thinking of childlike essence and the beauty and lessons in it come from observing childlike behaviors for what makes you a better human being. By better, because again, that's a relative term, better is what brings you more peace, what brings you more joy, what brings you more health, what brings you more of the things that make you a more wholesome, fulfilled human being from the inside. Because kids aren't bothered about others' opinions. They're not worried about the external. They're not worried about the money. They're not worried about what they look like. There's so much that children teach you about how to be a more wholesome, fulfilled human being joyfully just by being, just by playing, just by existing. So that for me is, we grow up, life happens, life is lifing, and we have responsibilities, and we realize that it is quite an interesting, colorful planet that we live on. And we grow up learning and experiencing and developing skills and know-how and street smarts because it is the world that we live in. So by no means don't hear what I'm not saying, where shirk your responsibilities, just be completely frivolous and foolish. I mean, if that's your speed, completely your choice. But you taking a shower is good for you. Putting clothes on is necessary. You could get arrested for running around naked in public. So responsibilities, etc., as an adult are important for you too as a human being for many reasons. But to adopt a childlike essence and mindset brings you to the present. It keeps you here. I think one of the most special things for me to observe is how children make friends with one another, because they don't have English lexicon and developed vocabulary as yet. Some more than others, again, relative, but they're connecting and they're bonding through the art of play and through a different level of communication, which is absconded from materialism, from money, from anything else but who they are. So that's a brief, I suppose, take on it from my side.
That was wonderful. So let's dig a bit deeper because you mentioned some words that I love to hear and that I use a lot in my practice. So the first word was authentic. So you said children are authentic. So to me, authentic means being true in your opinion and voicing your opinion without worry about how the other person may react. And I think children are authentic because if they don't like something, they'll say, I don't like it. Or, if my daughter, I give her some food she doesn't like, she'll spit it out right there. But the adults would pretend and say, oh, this is lovely, I'm so happy. Or they'll say, I'm okay when they're not okay. Or they'll say, this is a lovely food when they don't like the food. Or they'll say, you look great. Or they'll give a compliment when they don't mean it. And that is being unauthentic, right? And I think all adults do that. We have to learn the skill to survive in society, to not offend the other person. But children don't have that blinker or blockage or whatever you want to call it. If they don't like you, they'll say it. If they don't um, like something, they'll show it. and that's being authentic, right? So how can adults be authentic in that sense?
That, I think, is the $1 million question, right? Authenticity. Potentially a whole other podcast for you, Devak. But in terms of what you've asked, I do appreciate that question because the journey to authentic self is a marvel. Again, I'll share my experiences, etc., because that's what I know. It's my lived journey. So for myself, as I've shared a brief account of my story, I was a people pleaser because I had no idea who I was or who I am. I was so scared of what was sitting inside and the world around me. I treaded extremely cautiously and lightly. I exhausted myself because I was constantly worried about everyone else around me. What are they going to think? What are they going to say? How are they going to view me? It's exhausting. And again, I'll take it back to healing because a large part of what I do, or the root of what I do, my purpose is to support people to heal in their unique ways. And there are many ways to do it. But when you undertake the journey of healing, what you're actually doing is better getting to learn about and know yourself. And only once you've cleared the vessel, as I'd mentioned previously, do you actually get the gift of understanding and knowing and better seeing who you are as a person, which is freeing. Because when you know yourself, nobody can tell you otherwise. Then it stops becoming about the external. Everything comes from source, from within. And there's a really beautiful quote that I found: the inner child delights in life. They are unhindered, uninhibited joy. Because that's what's happening, or what happens when you live authentically and to who you really are. Because at the end of the day, everyone has an opinion, right? Everyone. Everyone has a mindset, a way of being, a way of choosing to think. Everyone has a unique perspective. But that's everyone else's, that's not yours. So to live in your true and authentic self means you actually don't give a damn, to a degree. When you unlock the authentic self, it's a completely different ball game. Again, it comes with healing because you've cleared the vessel. But it brings in true joy. It brings in an abundance of love that's just dying to come out. There's so much of it inside. It touches everything. Energy, right? There's light. It's a more peaceful space. Living in your truth, your authentic self, completely and fundamentally changes people pleasing and the external. It's no longer about what's happening here. It's about what's happening inside, your locus of control. How is it that I am feeling in response to something? So again, you start to self-talk. You start to process deeper. Why did that make me feel this way? Because how you view the world and receive the world is your mirror and your lens. It's a reflection of what's going on inside of you. So there's an accountability factor with authenticity. And make no mistake, healing and clearing your vessel is hard. It is brutal. We are all on this planet sitting with some degree or level of trauma and pain. We all have a story, every person walking on this planet. And I think if we all reminded ourselves of that, we'd be kinder to one another. Let's also not mistake kindness for weakness. Loving yourself and having authenticity means you protect yourself, you guard yourself, you ensure that what you're feeling inside and how you respond to things is positive, it's healthy, it's productive, it's beneficial to you, and it's beneficial to the person and the people around you. So herein lies the other point, is that I talk a lot. I'll be honest. The gesture from my family for Denielle when she walks into the room is this, because I just love a chat, but in a childlike way, like mommy, 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 daddy, daddy, daddy. Everything is just exciting and colorful and fun. But point being is, you kind of realize that I can only do the work for myself to be the reflection of what it is that I want to start seeing, who it is that I want to start being. And because I love myself, I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to feel ugly inside. I want to see myself as the creator intended me to be, as beautiful from the inside out. So when I mentioned the journey and the realities of healing are brutal, is that it's difficult to face yourself. It's quite an interesting thought, because it's so easy to make comment and have an opinion about everything and anything else externally, every person, every object, every way of being, how things are done, how people choose to live and operate. It's so easy to lay comment to somebody else's life, but when it comes to our own, have we actually done that for ourselves? Have we looked within and gone, why am I so angry? What is the root and the cause of my anger? I'm not sure. So with my healing journey, it was brutal. The things that come out would bring me to my knees to tears. They would, like I said, self-mutilate. I would harm myself because I didn't want to face myself. I was using every other which external outlet to run versus sitting with myself in my pain. And eventually when I did, and like I said, it is hard, but it's the most rewarding thing I could have ever done for myself, because it freed me. It freed me and it opened me up to embracing my childlike essence. What I realize more and more is, because I can be a clumsy human, because I'm operating like this often, I've had to consciously tell myself to slow down, Denielle, from how I speak to my thoughts, which is why I love to meditate. Meditation and prayer do this. Everything just slows down, right? To how I walk about, to how I put things down, how many things I have in my hand. I self talk all the time. But when I slow it down, I realize that this childlike spirit and essence that's so alive within me is beautiful. It's innocent, it's wholesome, and then when I look around me, I'm going, but we're all bumping our knees and tripping over our feet and twisting our ankles and walking into things and dropping things and spilling on ourselves. Like, we should have a bib. We should be wearing bibs because we're just dropping, and we are children. We're all big children running around who we actually don't have the answers. It's good to have your life experience and your insight for self, but we actually don't know. And there's such beauty in not knowing. And again, if you look at how kids operate, they don't know, but they're pushing buttons and they're putting their fingers into things and they're putting things in their mouths, and the curiosity is so profound. Why? Because it's this thing of, but I don't know, and I want to know, and I want to experience through touch and taste and smell and play and interaction presently. We learn as we go, I believe, because even our experiences are our experiences, yes, but life changes, right? We change rapidly. The world around us and technology and things change at an even faster pace. Why do I sit and profess that I know? I don't know. I'm just being. But I'm happy to be humbled, and I'm happy to learn in this way, because it's more beautiful for me this way, when I just take it as it comes, because I don't know what's going to happen a minute from now, never mind 5 years from now. As a long-winded, I suppose, answer to your question on authenticity, it's be courageous and vulnerable enough and back yourself to be your authentic self, because we're all meant to be unique. We're never meant to be the same. That's not why we were created. We all have gifts. We all have things that we're really brilliant at. Every single one of us. But the beauty, again, in existence of authenticity is that you get the gift of going and figuring it out by playing. Put your fingers in the hole. See what happens. I don't know. I'm not encouraging. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But be curious. Open yourself up to being curious and just seeing what happens. Start small. And as you get braver and more willing and open to trust yourself and life and the process and whatever it is that you believe, it becomes it becomes an authentic space of childlike play.
I think a lot of children get the childlike essence beaten out of them as they grow up, right? It's like, don't do that. You can't act like that in society. Don't throw tantrum. And we end up being the word you used, the people pleaser. First of all, we want to please our parents, right? Because they are the ones dictating how we should act. Don't act like this with auntie, or don't do that with auntie. So then you start pleasing your parents, and then that morphs into pleasing other people. And then you end up worrying more about what other people think about you than yourself, right? I think that's the essence you were talking about, is we stop caring about how we feel and we care more about how other people feel and respond. And I think the whole world ends up being sort of people pleasers, tiptoeing around each other because we don't want to offend each other as adults. So how do we take back that power? I mean, you mentioned a lot of healing work, but more of an awareness thing. How do we stop worrying what other people feel, but also do that in a respectful way? Does my question make sense?
And that's another great question. Let me flip this on its head a little bit. I think it's a great thing to be mindful and conscious of what your words, your thoughts, your actions, your deeds, the impact that has on self and those around you. I believe that that makes you a feeling human being, which is important because you don't want to bulldoze, because you don't know what somebody else is going through. I would hope that we are not people to be the catalyst for breaking the camel's back. You I would hope that we aren't these people that say the one thing that ends up causing somebody to take their own life because they are in that darker space. So I think it's important to be mindful of starts in here, your words, and how you act, right? It is important because being a conscious human dictates that you're aware of your impact on yourself and the world around you. I also believe that our experiences through childhood, regardless of what they come with, are important. They're yours and they're teaching you something. Because at the end of the day, parents are people too, right? Parents also have stories and lives and journeys, and to be kind towards that too is human. And it has to get to a point for self where you stop blaming your parents and the world around you, but you take accountability because you are here now as an adult. And when I say you, I mean myself. I am here now. I am an adult. It's my life. What is it that I choose to do with it? And I choose love and kindness. So as I previously shared, not everything needs a response, truth be told. Eventually what happens is you get to a space of where you love and care about yourself so much, and that means taking care of yourself in the right ways. Yes, there is such a thing. That your emotions start regulating. You have them. You'll go, oh my gosh, that really upset me. Oh my goodness, I'm so angry right now, or I'm extremely overjoyed. Or emotions are important. They're your reader. They're your guide. They're telling you something. Listen, embrace them. But what you choose to do with them and how you receive them, that's on you. So eventually what happens is things happen and you go, I recognize that this person is wiling out because I can't even imagine what's happened or what they've gone through. So unless it really encroaches on my safety, on my well-being, etc., I'm very happy to water off a duck's back, walk away. Very happy to not say anything because I can very much recognize when somebody is lashing out that there's deep pain there. and I'm not here to add to it. And it's also not about me, right? It's the mirror that they're viewing life, their life through. So the people pleasing is a journey, but again, it will go back to healing. It will go back to clearing your vessel and dealing and facing head on your traumas, your pain, what's eating you inside from the inside out, to be able to get to a space of freedom for not people pleasing, where it doesn't become about the outside world, but your internal one, right? I do. It is. It's a hard one. It's not easy not being a people pleaser, because I did it for most of my life, and I exhausted myself. And now when I sit here and I can literally just, things do upset me. I do get angry. It is a journey. It will be a forever journey, and I've got a lot of fire within me. So I wear things like a wooden bracelet to douse my fire, and I'm a spiritual fairy, if you could put it that way. So I do believe in knowing yourself enough to be able to ground yourself or find ways to ground yourself. But I find myself more and more just water off a duck's back, not say anything. Because I'm also a firm believer that we're not here to teach anyone else. It's not your responsibility. Life will be their own teacher. Allow people to live. We all have our time, we all have our place, and life will be your biggest teacher. No matter what anybody tells you or teaches you or guides you to do, I believe life's going to teach it to you in your own way, on your own time, when it's meant to happen. So again, back to your inner child, it's allowing life to happen not to you but for you. It's a mindset change.
Yeah, that's an important lesson, I think, even for me to learn to treat other people with the compassion that they deserve, but also not be obsessed with pleasing them. So you mentioned something very, very relevant that resonated with me was sometimes you just walk away without saying anything because it's not your responsibility. So I wanted to move to the next word that you used in the beginning, which is very powerful, and is that children are always in the present. And what does that mean to you? Because it means a lot of things to me, but I wanted to get your views first before I have my follow-up question.
Being in the present for Denielle is everything. It's going to be a cliche that's about to come out my mouth, but it's truth. The present is a gift. When you are depressed, you're still living in your past. When you are anxious and worried, you're thinking about the future, and you haven't even gotten there yet. We have no idea, and yet we're worried about something we have no idea about. So I shared that my daily practices, and not just because they're practices, because I genuinely enjoy them. You want to see somebody get excited about going to meditate? You're looking at her. I literally go, I'm going to meditate. So, bye. um, it brings me here. So there are a couple of things that I have adopted by hook or by crook, just how it kind of happened, my journey. I've journaled ever since I was a little girl, all the way up until now, like today. Today years old, and I even had a beautiful journal entry this morning. It's one of my favorite things to do because I love to write. It's a safe space to just get it out, whatever's on your mind. There's no judgment, no nothing. It's all mine. So journaling is another one of them. Meditation. So when you meditate, and it's practice, right? Nothing comes easy. It doesn't just happen. It takes time, right? Great things take time. It's true. I've been meditating for a very, very long time. And now when I meditate, everything just goes quiet. There is nothing happening inside of my mind. It's pure peace. Um, it slows everything down, and the biology and the science behind meditation is quite an interesting one, right? It's what it does for your nervous system, what it does for your brain. When you go into deep meditation, what happens with your breath, how much oxygen is coming in, how your heart rate just decreases drastically. The benefits of meditation in your in your physical body, your physicality are profound. It's also, I saw something that said, when you engage with children, your energy, your frequency is high. Then when you engage with animals, it goes even higher. But when you meditate, that is the highest form of your frequency that you can possibly receive. It just pulls you back here, where it drowns out everything else, all the thoughts, all the emotions, all the noise, all the clutter. It just brings you here. That's powerful, because now I'm nowhere else but here, so I get to focus on one thing. I cannot multitask. I'll be honest with you. I do not have the ability to multitask. I can autopilot, I can do things out of habit, but I cannot multitask. So it gives me the opportunity to remind myself to do one thing at a time. Like I said, I don't carry many things in my hand as often as possible. I have to remind myself. I carry one, maybe two, because I have two hands, right? And until I can carry things with my feet, it's just the two hands. So that's my meditative practice to bring me back into the present. My next favorite thing is I walk around barefoot more often than not. And I walk on the grass more often than not, because earth is a huge energy source. When you talk about grounding, literally grounding, you are putting your feet, which have paws and nerves, etc., onto the ground, which is nature, which is what we actually are. We're nature. We're made up mostly of water, right? Inside. It's nature. It's natural. So for me, nature is a form of presence. So I'll give you an example this week. I was in a little bit of an emotional state because of a certain situation with another human being. So whenever I need to just pause, either my dogs will come to me and want to play, which is great because they take me away. And the other thing is nature. So I went for a walk to not clear my head, but calm my being, because nature calms me. So I went for a walk in what looks like a forest. It was safe. It's well known, etc., etc. And I don't have my phone on me, and I don't have distractions as far as possible. And when I'm in nature, and you feel the breeze, and you feel the sunlight, and you start to sweat, because sweat is good for you. The sunshine is good for you. When I can smell the trees, when I can hear the rustling, when I can hear the birds, that's presence. When I can look at a plant and I can look around me and go, look at this marvelous creation that is just being here. It's not even thinking about what happened or if it's going to die or am I going to fall as a fruit off the tree. It's just being and existing. And the birds are chirping happily, and they're going according to seasons, and they're going according to what their bodies are asking. So animals operate on food, rest, play. Animals play, protection, safety, but they're just being. So when it comes to being present, these are some of the ways that I have taught myself how. I will literally just bring myself back using things that are free, a journal and a pen. Okay, it's going to cost me a little bit of money, but a journal and a pen. No shoes, so I don't need shoes. Grass, if you're blessed enough to have access to grass and that kind of nature, walk around barefoot on the grass as often as possible. And to just be in nature, in the sunshine, the breeze, listen to the birds and look at the plants and understand that that's being present and they are thriving. Nature always restores itself. How? Because it is just. So for me, being present is the most beautiful gift I could have ever learnt about and learned to adopt, because it's brought me pure peace and joy. And again, if you think about children, they're just being where they are. They're not worried about anything else or what's happened or what's coming. They're just being and seeing what's about to happen, right? Because I pushed that button, now let's wait. So that's kind of my take on being present. And I mean, get to know yourself better for what makes you present, because it's not a one size fits all. I mean, I can show you, I drink 2 liters of water every single day, right? And my bottle is hella fun. It's got little sayings and quirks and the color, and it's see through so light sunshine can get in. Everybody has their way of bringing themselves, or the opportunity to bring themselves back to being present. Find yours. Go and explore and play and figure yourself out for what makes you tick and brings you presence. It isn't a one size fits all.
So the adults will say, this is all sounds great, but it's not practical because as an adult, I have to worry about the bills I need to pay at the end of the month. I need to have enough income to do that. I have job responsibility or project or deadlines that are in the future. So, how can you just be in the present when you have these obligations in your future that you need to prepare for, and it causes anxiety, and this is the world, right? So how can an adult embrace this being present when they have these future obligations, or even they're unable to meet their future obligations? Maybe a simple one is, that at the end of the month you have to pay these bills, and right now you don't have the income and you don't know where that income is coming from. How can someone remain unanxious in that situation?
And I love this question. Again, I'm going to take you on my journey. I am going to be turning 37 on the 26th of July this year. And my career path is quite an interesting one. I went to nursery school, I went to primary school, I went to high school, I went to university, I got a degree, I then got an honors degree. I also started studying my master's in my early 20s, quite young. I've had quite a few certifications in terms of digital marketing, etc., etc. Gone on many courses for various things. I have 10 years of agency experience as a client service professional. I then moved into corporate. I was in corporate for 4 years. And in the 14 years of my career experience, give or take, I also tried to start a business in between. And in that time, from let's say about university all the way till my corporate career closed that chapter, I have had 3 burnouts. I've landed up in hospital from adrenal fatigue. It got me into spaces of depression, anxiety. I was constantly stressed. I was doing a million and one things for self validation. I was trying to earn a means of income via many part time jobs on top of having full time employment, because the economy is difficult, right? It is. It's a tough one. I completely understand the question, because it's common. Many people we know, we are, or we've been, etc. And life gets hard. It'll break you. It'll feel like it's breaking you. Um, Hence why I've said to you, I've also had quite a few suicide attempts in my time, because I just wanted to tap out. I didn't want to be here anymore because it was too much. And I think a part of me never felt like I was meant to be here, because I just wasn't coping. How is it that I'm looking around me and everybody else appears to be thriving and they've got it all together and they're doing all these adult things and they're paying their bills on time and they've got enough money and they're traveling and they've got families and homes, and how are they doing all of this when I'm not married, I don't have children, I don't have a fraction of the responsibilities that all of these people do, and yet I'm what feels like failing. Why am I not good enough? Oh, and it still hurts my heart to think about that space that I was in, because I felt like a failure. I had no self love. I had, I could never look in the mirror and see somebody beautiful or somebody smart or somebody wonderful. It was never what I saw. And eventually, what happens is if you don't close certain doors, they're closed for you. So I was encouraged by my mother to leave my agency job because she said there's only one of you and you can't be replaced, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth you and what you're doing to yourself, because you're choosing this. We choose, right? We choose the lives that we are living. Yes, we do. The fancy car that we want, it comes at a price. The big beautiful home, it's going to come at a price. What is the price that you are willing to pay for the life that you choose to have and you are willing to chase? Because we're chasing. I was chasing. I resigned. And I was petrified because my questions to my mother were, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to take on my responsibilities if I don't have a job? And she said, you know what? Just trust. But it's not worth your health and it's not worth your life. I mean, that's fair. I can't argue with that. So I resigned. The day that I left agency, my last day, is the day that I got a call from Accenture South Africa to say that I had gotten a job as one of their marketing and communication managers. Because I thought, ah, why not? Let's see, let's try corporate. And so I did the things. I'd applied for other jobs. I'd gone for interviews. I landed a great career at Accenture South Africa. And that was in about October or November of 2019. They said, you know what, but start in January of 2020. So it's the beginning of a year. You can have a bit of a break. So I thought, oh, great. I've got a sabbatical. I never took a gap year. I never had the allowance of time off, etc. I've never given myself that. Let me do that. So I went away on a lovely break. I traveled. Because I had saved money. And I started in January of 2020. And then what happened a few months later? COVID hit, right? So I was like, well, this is interesting. I now have a new career in teams and people that I don't know, and I'm going to have to do everything online. Well, let's go. And COVID was such an interesting time because I still am to a degree, but intentionally so. It's aligned to purpose. I'm a busybody. I like to do things. I like activities. I like to explore and adventure and just see what happens. And COVID gave me the opportunity to be home. I got to spend more time with my dogs. I had a housemate. She and I had a roster, and we had window washing days, and we had laundry days, and we had days that we would bake. So what happened? We had structure. We put together structure and routine. And I believe that that's such an important skill to adopt, to have structure and routine, because planning is a good thing. There's a saying I was taught: you do your best and let God do the rest. And when you plan, it takes away anxiety, it gives structure. You start to see things a lot more clearer. You go, actually, but that doesn't work because now it's written down or it's visual, right? Do I really need that? No. And it was also causing me stress and anxiety and worry. No, then I can do away with it. So I've always been raised to have organization and structure. I am a neat, clean, tidy freak. I enjoy cleaning and tidying and doing all these wonderful things and having structure. I mean, if anybody who knows me knows that Denielle is this person. She'll come into your house and she'll clean like a fairy. But back to the COVID point was it was that we put down a structure and we had a routine, and we then started to meal plan, and we then started to have it was the most beautiful experience just to be home, not actually watch the news, put on fun music. We would have days where we would dress up just because we could, and we would make a nice meal, and she and I would have this wonderful dinner that we'd prepared with our own hands and out of our own minds, and we were dressed up and we felt pretty, and it was a beautiful experience just to be home. And we could still speak to our friends and our family because technology is a thing. But it very much became a thing of, okay, you're here, you can't technically go anywhere. What are you going to do with the time, and how are you going to sit with yourself? And also, it also gave me the opportunity to deeper sit with myself. And that's when I was seeing a shaman. And she as well gave me very cool techniques and practices. Things like a cold shower. That's my bread and butter. I have a cold shower twice a day. Things like a salt bath, things like cleansing, things like incense, things like on that level. And I never lost that. Then I did. My corporate career was also such an interesting one because I had decided that I'm going to just be myself. Now, if you I'm very consistent in terms of the person that you meet, in terms of my personality, the childlike essence, the joy, the chatterbox, she looks like she's this little kid running around. That never changed. So me in a corporate environment is quite an even in a marketing and communications team is quite an interesting thing for a professional technology services company, right? But I did. I was just myself, and I got creative, and I learned about the parameters, etc. I think I started to use my voice a lot more, and my boundaries started to come into play, and I started to ask for help, and I wanted to seek to better understand, and it was so good for me because it again taught me about the importance of structure. It taught me about the importance of asking for help. It taught me about delegation. It taught me many, many skills, but I think it just further cemented for me who I am and what I need. So then what happened? I got an amazing opportunity. I got to move to the Middle East with Accenture. Again, in the marketing and communications team, I had another hugely graceful and learning opportunity in abundance in the walls of Accenture Middle East. Because now I've got touch points from people from all across the globe. 90% expat community in Dubai. I was having a field day because I love to listen to stories and listen to people and watch and observe. It was like a kid in a candy store. And again, a Denielle it's like trying to fit a round peg in the square hole. Like, what is she doing here? I would come into the office laughing. I've got a really loud laugh. You hear me from here to the next neighboring city. And I would come in laughing and smiling and making friends and bringing food and organizing activities, and I found a way to find my groove. But essentially, again, to your question, the responsibilities and the stress and the worry, and there's so much to do, and I've got to do this, and I've forgotten that, and da da da. Find a way to write down and structure your list, your to-do list. I would then say prioritize. You get the difference between the glass balls in your life and the rubber balls. I don't know if you're familiar with that analogy.
No, let's share that for our viewers. You said glass balls and rubber balls. Is that did I hear that correct?
The glass balls, for your analogy, are if I drop the glass ball and it shatters, it's not coming back. I cannot put those shards together. I cannot put those pieces back together. They are gone. The rubber balls are the things that you'll drop and they'll bounce. They'll come back. So, what are the things in your life, your priorities, your glass balls, that if you drop those, that's got fundamental and detrimental impact? Those aren't coming back. So, for you, Deepak, for example, your child, your children, that is a glass ball priority for you, right? But things like, I don't know, it's just because it's the top of my head, the new car, that can come at another stage. It doesn't have to be now or this year, or that can be a moving goalpost, right? That's not detrimental to your life. So structuring things out and writing it down, you can do it in a book, you can do it on your phone. There's so many different ways to do it, but it mustn't overwhelm you. Write down what are your list of priorities, whether it's in a day, whether it's for the week, whether it's for the month, whether it's for the year. And then actually critically look at, but is this a priority? And if it is, why is it? Because if I drop my glass ball, my child, that's a problem. But if I don't meet this deadline, what are the true implications, right? There are real deadlines, and then there are some deadlines, because not everything can be urgent. So a very cool technique that I was taught once upon a time is the fear ladder. And it's the what if, right? So you ask yourself, okay, if I miss this deadline, then what if? And eventually you start asking, you go deeper and deeper. You're working yourself up, right, into a tizzy going, but if I don't make this deadline, then people are going to be upset with me. And if they're upset with me, I might have a performance review. And eventually when you work it all the way up, you realize how irrational it is. It is all in your head. It's not life threatening, right? So putting it down for yourself, actually prioritizing what needs to be prioritized, understanding for yourself why it's a priority and what the repercussions of your list are, also then starts you to better understand what truly matters to me and why. Why do I want the car? Why do I want the bigger house? Why do I want the private plane? And I'm using material things because these are just coming in at the top of my head. That it's in no particular order. It's for no apparent reason. It's, I believe ambition is a good thing. I believe having goals and dreams and aspirations are a great thing. I do. But understand why. And is that what's truly driving your inner happiness and the inner child to thrive? Because again, right, often I watch kids and they have all the toys in the world, and it's fleeting. Like the novelty of it comes and then it goes. And then the thing is lying there and you're like, but I paid so much money for this thing and this child isn't even playing with it. But they get the most joy from being barefoot, running around outside, being with their friends, getting into a pool, rolling around. It's not over engineered. It is so simple for where they derive joy, and it's free. So for you as an adult, right, to, I think, whittle down the worry and the clutter and the I've got to do this and I've got to run around and this has to be done, and no, it doesn't. You're putting that pressure on you because in your mind it has to be done. It has to be achieved. But in reality of your world and yourself, what do you actually need to be doing and achieving? And that career, sure, the world operates on the commodity of money. It is important. And to have a healthy relationship with money is, again, another topic all on its own. But it is. It's you have to buy food, to have a roof over your head, clothes, school fees, those kinds of things. But when you actually put the numbers down for what you actually need versus what you want, I think the scale starts to shift, right? I think that list of priorities and the anxiety and all the things we're chasing and thinking about and having to do, I have a feeling it could potentially come down to here, from there, out the screen to here. So, but I don't know. I don't know if that's the right answer. I'm not sure. It's just a thought.
Well, that was very insightful, and I do hope it helps our listeners reduce their anxiety about the future. So, making that list of your obligations, I would say, prioritizing them, and then understanding why they're priorities. What are glass balls that if they break they can't be put back? What are rubber balls that can bounce? And then really going deeper and asking, why is this a priority? What's going to happen if I don't do that? And that can really help to shorten your list of obligations and consequently reduce your anxiety. So I wanted to touch on another topic, and you keep raising these wonderful topics, so that's why I have to ask about them. The relationship with money. So let's talk about the children and their relationship with money. My daughter, she's 6 years old. She has no concept of what things cost. I mean, she sort of understands, but she doesn't know what it really means, right? How can we as adults have a childlike relationship with money? Is it even possible?
Oh, I love this question. Um, I think the answer is yes. I think. So, from my experience, my two wonderful parents taught us the value of hard work and money. Nothing comes for free. and there's effort involved for an income or to make money. So Denielle has had many part-time jobs in her life. I have walked dogs. I have done gardening. I've learned to do nails. I would au pair. I would wash dishes. I was a waitress. I was a runner in the back of kitchens. I would pick up trash. You name it. Any way Denielle could try to make a means of income, she would explore these simple, healthy ways of learning and generating an income. Because there was a stage where my parents, I have a brother too, so our parents, would give us a small amount of pocket money, right? Just to feel money, to have it. Now let's see what these kids are going to do with it. Now, because like I said to you, I've always liked to do things. I've always had a big social life. I've always wanted to go do things with my friends. I've always wanted to spoil people. I've always, that's just me. But once the money's gone, the money's gone, right? Now you gotta wait, or you have to earn it. So cue the part-time jobs, and I did it. It taught me the value of hard work and earning an income. It taught me to respect money. It also taught me that it's not a never-ending pool. There isn't an abundance of money, right? Unless you're putting in the work or the investments, or you're taught how to invest and save, or you start to seek the counsel and the advice of the people that are getting it right. Learn from them, ask them questions, see what you can take and adapt and use for yourself. Ethical, good ways to be able to generate an income and to grow your money, but it comes with sacrifice. I like nice things. I will not lie. I do. My nice things come in the form of I love a beautiful journal. I love going on holidays. I love adventures. I love trying new things. I'm highly active. So my fitness outlets cost money. So all of these things that are important to me cost money, right? And that's why understanding yourself better for what drives you and why, for where you're willing to make an investment financially, no matter how big or small, is critical. Because the world can tell you you need that dress to look beautiful. You need to wear makeup. You need to have that watch and that diamond in order to be affluent. The world can tell you a lot of things about what you need to be a certain ideal. But when it comes to the truth of it all, for oneself, we're all different, right? Different things drive us and make us happy and make us tick. So, what is it that you actually should spend your hard earned money on to derive true happiness? So, for Denielle, it's very simple. Like I said, it's my journal, it's my fitness activities, it's the water bottle, it's food. I love good food, wholesome good food. If I tell you what takeaways do to my body, what it makes my brain feel like, what it makes my energy levels feel like, what it makes me feel terrible. Actually have I get a bit depressed when I eat takeout, or my body feels sluggish. I don't have as much energy. My brain isn't firing and wiring the way it's supposed to be. So I don't eat it. I'm not saying I deprive myself. I mean, listen, I'm human. Like if I'm craving something, I'm going to eat it. But my body doesn't even crave it anymore. I prefer home cooked food. I prefer if I eat out, it's at a restaurant where the food is delicious and it's fresh. I do love cool drink, But again, I don't drink it often, and if I have, I'll have a sip, or like maybe a quarter of a glass to quench the craving. And even then I'm asking myself, but why are you craving this? So then that's a deeper conversation, right? So ultimately, to bring it back to your question on money, healthy money habits, and spending, it's the healthy relationship again stems from self. Why and what are you spending your money on? For what reason? And is it truly good for you and nourishing you, or is it an escapism? Or is it hiding something? Or is it another layer to be added in a pretty piece of jewelry, or a nice item of clothing so that I have a facade of a successful, thriving human? Is it a band aid, in other words? Um, and I can tell you now, my consumption patterns and habits dropped drastically. What I started spending my money on changed fundamentally. Even I surprised myself. But listen, I've always, for Denielle, I have always been the kind of person that would spend my money on other people because I love to spoil people, because I want others to feel good and happy and loved and cared for, right? So I even then I had to have better conversations with people with the experience for how do I do that in a healthier way so that I'm not bled dry before the end of the month and I'm not sitting with any finances. I don't want to be in that position ever again, because I've been there before too. I've gone without food because of my own doing. And I didn't make it anybody else's problem, because it was my actions and choices that got me to that stage. So I had to live with the consequences and maybe learn what it feels like to go without food for a few days. How about that as a lesson? So it did. My entire spending changed. I stopped buying, excuse my language, crap. More often than not, if you see me with a new item of clothing or something I have, it's because somebody else has bought it for me out of the kindness of their heart, out of love. So I'm not a shopper. If I'm walking about in a market or the streets, or I don't like going to shopping malls unless it's intentional. Um, but if I see something that I know somebody else would like and it's within my means, it's 10% of my income. I use 10% of my income to spoil the people around me, because that's what I can afford, right? It's relative. And it's that's how I choose to do it. So building better and healthier money habits, again, come back to self. What is it that I'm buying and I'm spending my money on, and why? And it becomes very simple when you think about a child. They're not worried about money and they're not thinking about it that way, right? They don't have the concept of it. They don't understand and know the value of it as yet. But how they would spend their money is things like candy. Like, think about, if a child had all the money in the world, what would a child spend their money on? It's such an endearing thought. So again, keep it simple. Bring it back to, like, I love plants, so for me, I'd spend my money on plants and herbs and things like that. Also love to cook, so yeah, that's my take on it.
So in essence, you said children, they don't have the concept of money, but if they had money, they would spend it on things that they know would make them happy right now. So if I gave my daughter 100 Rand, she'd go spend it on candy and chocolates and sweets and whatever. But that's what made her happy. So that's the relationship we should be fostering and developing with money, is to really understand what is it that truly makes us happy and prioritize your money for that. I think I've understood your answer. So, in closing off, I wanted to talk about your new business or company, because you're now a happiness coach, teaching people to be happy. So, I guess you're teaching people to embrace their inner child. Is there Is there some insights you can give us into your approach? I know you've mentioned a lot of things to help us be present, which is the journaling, the grounding, the meditations. But are there other techniques that people can learn from your happiness coach business?
Yeah, sure. And thanks for that. Yeah, I love to spread the word, as it were, because this purpose found me because in my heart of hearts, I knew it's what I'd been seeking. I'd always said to people, you know, if there's something that I really want to die as, it's being the happiest and most joyful and peaceful version of myself, but I just don't know how. And I think the core to my business is healing. It is, and I think if I could share anything with anyone is be brave enough to be honest with yourself about the help that you need. There's no shame in it. If anything, it makes you courageous and even braver for being honest about what it is that you need to help you. Our helper of 22 years, 23 years, has said, take it out of your heart. What she's saying is, take it out of you. And again, the journey of healing is quite a unique and special one because it's yours, so it needs to work for you. And that's why being a child, embracing your inner child, means play. It means curiosity. It means exploration. It means take the time to figure out what brings you joy and makes you truly happy, that's completely separated from any external part of the world, any object, item, money, person. What do you enjoy doing? Right? That in itself is an exercise. When you do that, you find different outlets for being that appeal and work for you. When that happens, you start to explore yourself, which means you start to unlock different sides and parts of your being. So I'll give you an example for what I mean there is that movement, physical movement, because I dance, and movement unlocks trauma. Trauma is sitting in the cells and DNA of our body in various places based on the trauma you've experienced. So mine are my hips, right? So when I dance, I'm releasing trauma, I'm healing myself. And I'm having fun and I'm laughing and it's music and it's community. There's so many elements about it that are free and that are mine and that I enjoy and that are helping me to heal. So this is the point about embracing your inner child and learning to play again, and curiosity and that innocence is that you figure yourself out and you find ways to heal. So for me, it is, like I've said, dance. It is taking walks in nature. It's being barefoot. It's observing and getting to engage with children in healthy ways. It's playing, games. I love board games. All of these outlets that I've found that make me truly me are further supportive of how I continue to heal myself. And that's unique to each of us. So go and play is what I'm saying. Go and find healthy ways to play so that you can stop hurting, so that you stop hurting people around you because the cycle just keeps doing this, right? I don't believe we douse a fire with more fire. It's just scientifically that's not true. And also emotionally, that's also not true. The only way to bring yourself back to the inner child and to begin to heal is love and kindness. And it starts with self, because then that becomes your mirror. Once you have love and kindness and joy and abundance like a child, it's so infectious, and your impact on everything around you, everything that you engage with and come into contact with, fundamentally shifts. So when I smile, because it's genuine, because deep, deep joy and love and happiness and kindness are sitting inside, because healing has happened and it continues to, people feel it. They smile back out of nowhere. So I'm very mindful of who I look in the eye and who I engage with, because it's like light, right? People just gravitas. but it's that I would say there's no answer or technique or one size fits all. It's for you to go and play and explore yourself. If you need a psychologist and a psychiatrist, do that. There is no shame in it. They exist for a reason. If you can't afford it, again, find ways to play. Find ways to make yourself feel safe again, feel loved, to heal, because there's actually no other way until you clear the vessel within.
So that was really insightful. And viewers, I am going to leave all the details to Denielle's company, her website. It's all below the video here, so you can go check it out and get in contact with her. And I think the important thing is to find healthy ways to play, to enjoy yourself in a healthy format. And that really can help to bring on true lasting healing. And you mentioned something about, how you cannot put out a fire with another fire. And I have a similar analogy that I heard a long time ago is if you come to a dark room, you can't chase the darkness out by putting more dark there. You can't you can't reason with the darkness and say, please, darkness, leave the room, or you can't chase it out or hit it with a bat or anything. There's nothing you can do to get rid of the darkness except one thing, which is turn on the light.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think on that note, we had a very interesting conversation. And I hope all of you who have been watching the show are now going to embrace your inner child, because your inner child loves to play, and your inner child is light and love and presence and authenticism. And that is what the world needs more of. So if we can be adults who embrace these qualities, the world would be so much more beautiful and better to live in. Denielle, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to the next time we chat.